Do you suffer from the debilitating symptoms of chronic pain, swelling, and loss of joint motion due to arthritis? Are you taking drugs like Celebrex and Vioxx or other super aspirin prescriptions? If you are, you're increasing the risk of heart attack and stroke by up to 50%. This is Dr. Tom Roselle, host of Dr. Tom Roselle Live Sundays at 12 noon. Why live with pain or the dangerous side effects of drugs when the doctors at the Roselle Center for Healing, practicing 21st century integrative medicine, can help you experience relief like never before? Simple, safe, chiropractic, acupuncture, and nutritional care can provide significant relief from arthritic pain in less than 6 weeks. More than 70% of our patients experience a return to life far beyond their expectations. Give yourself the best gift possible, freedom from arthritic pain, naturally. Call today to schedule an appointment. Call 703-698-7117 or visit online at rosellecare.com.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live, right now, on 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL.
Welcome to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. This is Dr. Tom Roselle live in studio, waiting to take your phone calls. 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. That's how you reach me here in studio, and how you reach me off the air is rosellecare.com. Love to talk to you on any subject you have in mind. Perhaps you've had a problem, you've tried, you've applied. Well, here's an opportunity to put the fire out, so to speak, without drugs, without surgery. That's why we do this program. That's why we're here for you, to try to get you the most intimate and up-to-date information on alternative health care and functional medicine, from acupuncture, chiropractic, nutrition, and all those other things that you'd like to know a whole lot more about that you don't know. 'Tis the season, folks. We're coming up with another week or so to Christmas. We're already going through Hanukkah, and we've passed Thanksgiving, and we're going to go into New Year's. What does that mean? That means stress above and beyond anything that you can possibly imagine, and it does a number on you. Why? Because you're stressing, you're eating things that you shouldn't eat, and, you know, the slings and arrows of, like, the ice storm we just had, so you're out there doing things with your body physiologically that, you know, you're just not prepared for. And the combination of that structural, chemical, emotional paradigm, those stresses that you get more of right now than any other time, take you down. And, you know, you get the colds and the flus, and I don't feel good, and backache and headache, and also depression at very, very high levels. Well, when it comes to this type of subject, I need help. So what I do is I reach out to my best friend in chiropractic and applied kinesiology, who happens to be a master of interpreting the stress paradigm. He wrote a book called Stressed Out, Headed for Burnout. He was the doc for the Kansas City Chiefs for over 12 years, and a guy who I dearly appreciate and love, Evan Mladenoff. Dr. Mladenoff, are you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning, my friend. Thank you for taking the time, and, you know, you're not new to this program. We've shared the microphone many times, and this will be fun. We're going to do it again and give people more than what they thought they could get.
Excellent.
You know, we just had a wonderful weekend. Friday night, our office kind of shed a little cheer among 3 different shelters in the Fairfax, Virginia area. And it started out as a just, you know, let's take on a shelter, let's help people. And it turned out to be one of the most amazing events and brought tears to all of our eyes. And here's all these beautiful kids. We had 80-some children, and with mothers and fathers, there were 120 people. And the people that went out of their way this Christmas season, this holiday season, to share with these kids. There was a company from Southern Virginia that just blew me away. They not only made this huge 32-foot Christmas train, but they made sleep sacks for every one of the children. VA Quilting Company, they called VQC, and we're going to mention some of the other folks from Soft Touch Dental and Prime City Entertainment and Fairfax Connector and so forth as we go through the show today. But it was an amazing experience. I'll tell you a little bit about it. We're starting to post things on Facebook, and it was just a very, very cool event. But having said that, let's talk about stress. Evan, you have over the years lectured more times than I can possibly think of on this subject. You know, you're a go-to expert on the area of stress. So let's kind of fit it into the winter season, into the holiday season, and why. Let's start out with why. Why is this season more stressful, if you will, structural, chemical, emotionally, than any other time of the year?
Well, I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer, but I need to give you some statistics to bring home the brutal reality of this, because people don't think they're under stress because they don't feel anything going on, but there's this storm raging inside that when you pass the magic line of too much, it goes from 0 to full throttle. So here's some of the statistics. Heart attacks peak on 3 days of the year. One of them is Christmas Day, one of them is New Year's Day. 7% of heart problems occur because of snow shoveling. Have you had any snow out there this past week?
Oh, we've had a bit. We've had ice, snow, and sleet. It's been pretty ugly.
Yeah. 19 million Americans are suffering from depression with prescription drugs to treat this disorder. It's doubled in the last 10 years alone. So, things just are growing and growing and growing out of control. And what do people go through the holidays? They try to ignore their problems. They try to bury themselves with drugs, alcohol, and sugar binging, which is like throwing gasoline on the fire.
Just makes it a whole lot worse, and sometimes a grave that they can't get themselves out of.
Yeah, exactly. So, as we go through the show today, I want to give people what I call the 7 steps that they can reduce and minimize holiday stress. And this is like really front and center in my mind because literally last night we opened a bottle of champagne because I finished the last chapter of the book I'm going to publish next year called The 30-Day Stress Makeover.
Oh, fantastic. Good for you. Congratulations.
So it's a 30-day, step-by-step of how you can transform your life and change the way your body reacts to stress, how you acknowledge the world around you. And this is perfect because we can give them some steps to start with the holidays that will help them do that. So let's just start with the first thing.
Well, before we get there, Evan, let's get into. I want to kind of brief our audience a little bit just on what the patterns are of stress and why the body begins to break down so succinctly. We've heard over the years everything from general adaptation syndrome. That was Hans Selye's thing. And then we went into the HPA axis pattern and how that affects. But what I want to do is before we get into, the steps, and we're going to cover each one of those very, very purposefully today, let's talk a little bit about what the mechanism of stress really does to the body, what organ systems are being affected, why they're being affected the way they are. I mean, we can talk of everything from, the increased health risks that we see, such as, talk simply about pain and depression and so forth. But we can see patients at this time of the year where they go into such heavily clinical depressive states that everything from their fight-flight system, their sexual capacity, their ability to put on any strength in their body, but there are mechanisms within the system that allow for that. And, you know more than anybody else how that HPA works and why we get that immunological response that we do.
Absolutely. And here's the thing that is the hardest for people to understand, and that is this stuff does not happen by accident. There's divine design in how our body reacts to stress. It is a methodical, precise reaction. Now, here's the dirty secret. Good stress, bad stress, and nobody won the big Mega Millions lottery the other day, which would be another financial stress, even though it's on the positive side, or negative stress, meaning you've been out of work, you can't find a job, and you're now going on 8 months a year, and so that's a financial stress.
If you win that, we're splitting, right?
Yeah, 20-50, right?
Okay, got it.
And the reason why it's 20-50 is because the other 30% were given away to charity because that sounds like an unbelievable event you guys had the other night. And that's, can I fast forward for a second? That's one of the ways you can deal with stress is, by sharing your wealth. Now, that might be the wealth of your ideas. That might be the wealth of your money. That might be the wealth of your heart and the generosity of your heart. It doesn't have to be cash all the time. But it's amazing of no matter how bad you feel, there's always somebody in life who's got it worse off than you do. And if you can just find 5 people that you can reach out to and just send them a handwritten note, just thinking about you, hope life's doing good and God is taking care of you. And that's all you do. You would be surprised not only how you would touch that person's life, but how much better you'd feel by just writing them a handwritten note on a piece of paper. What would that cost you?
Oh, it's huge. And it takes, if you're going to send it by mail, it takes a little bit more today, but, that's the post office.
Yeah.
No, it's critical. And for that, 48 cents or whatever it is, you just turn somebody's life around.
Yeah, absolutely. So the divine blueprint, if you will, is very precise on what our body does to stress, and it doesn't matter what that incoming stress is. So our stress system is like, the Marines on the beach, but the problem is the Marines on the beach got to get past what I call the stress iceberg. So now, what should the Marines do? Should they hack off the top of the iceberg so they can get onto the beachhead? Well, if you hack off the top of your stress iceberg, all that happens is more of the ice from the bottom comes to the top. The same problems keep resurfacing.
And actually, the base gets bigger.
And the base gets bigger, absolutely. So, how do we attack the base of the iceberg, or the rudimentary stresses that are coming into your life, the rudimentary breakdown of your body? And those are complex things, but they are very simple things to do. So where do you want to start?
Well, let's get into okay. Let's get into the how the body breaks down, and then we're going to get into your steps and what the cascade is, why people suddenly become sick with the flu, sick with the colds, why they have the heart attacks. What's happening, Evan? Why is this taking place?
Okay, so the first thing that happens is our body goes on red alert. Okay. And so our body prepares for the fight, whether it's an infection, whether it's financial stress, emotional stress, physical stress, like you got to go shovel the snow so you can get to work tomorrow. Our body goes on red alert. So it shuts down our digestive system, and then it opens up our cardiovascular muscle system so we can fight or run away. So that's stage number one. That is supposed to be a short-term event, a one-time hit of stress, if you will. So now just fast forward on this videotape. What happens if you're in that mode, if you're in hand-to-hand combat all the time and your body's doing this all the time? Eventually you're going to have digestive system problems because your digestive system is always shut down because you're always fighting. Okay? Your immune system is going to have problems because you're always shut down because you're always fighting. Your neuromuscular cardiovascular system is going to overwork because you're always fighting.
Now, what our listeners have to understand is that when we're talking about stress in these mechanisms that ultimately present the symptomological paradigm of I don't feel good or whatever it is, we're talking about not only the stress of eating badly, the sugar, sodas, coffee, teas, fast food, all the junk stuff that we put in our bodies on a regular basis, and 10 times more this time of the year, but we're talking about also injury patterns. We're talking about the inability, and when we're talking about injury, we're talking about, as we said earlier, getting out and shoveling the stuff that was out there, being unprepared for that, or the emotional stress of having to do whatever it is that we put upon ourselves, much more so this time of the year than any other time. And then we end up with the inability of our bodies to heal. We see cuts in our body that just sit there forever. We see, intestinal irritations where we end up with cramping and bloating. We end up being much more susceptible to the environment. We have problems, obviously, this time of the year with vitamin D, which is huge when it comes to the support mechanisms of the adrenal function, which is, your baby that you've written about so many times over the years. So having said that, we're setting the stage for that. And by the way, anybody would like to talk to Dr. Mladenoff specifically, you can give us a call here at the studio at 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. We've got about a minute and a half, Evan, before we take a break. So let's start with your representation, how we fix this stuff.
Okay. Well, the first thing is you got to find out, where you're at, because you can't get to where you want to go if you don't know where you're at. As Coach Vermeil would always say before the game. So how can you find out where you're at? Well, there's short-term, mid-range, and long-range, just like the Titanic. Why did the Titanic sink? Well, it underestimated the size of the iceberg. And here's the brutal reality, is that 6 times in 12 hours, the captain was notified, or the ship was notified about the ice. But they just barged ahead. They ignored long-range warning signs. So let's look at some short-range, mid-range warning signs. If you just stick out your tongue, from traditional Chinese medicine, if you stick out your tongue, look in the mirror, stick out your tongue. Don't be bashful, just like, let it hang out. If the tip of your tongue is red, that's a midterm flag or mid-range flag that says, okay, your stress system has been under the gun.
It relates to the heart.
It relates to the heart and your stress system. And it's like, okay, you're not in an emergency state, but if you now go shovel snow, you up the ante, you raise all the hormones in your body that get you ready to fight, so to speak, and work hard, and so now you can trigger a heart attack.
Hold that thought, Evan. We're coming up to a break. We have to pay attention to people who pay for this program.
Excellent.
We'll be right back.
Did you know that routine mammograms can increase radiation exposure to breast tissue 1,000 times over a chest X-ray? Now consider a simple, non-invasive, and totally safe medical procedure approved by the FDA since 1982 that can detect breast cancer 5 to 8 years before it can be visualized on a mammogram. Infrared thermographic imaging can accurately detect the initial signs of breast cancer as increased blood supply and metabolic rate, which is recorded as heat. Why expose yourself to radiation when accurate and safe medical detection is available? Call the Thermography Center of Fairfax to schedule a breast exam today at 703-948-7248. That's 703-943-7248. For more information, visit www.thermographyscan.net. That's thermographyscan.net for the Thermography Center of Fairfax.
The Roselle Center for Healing is a proud supporter of breast cancer awareness and reminds you to conduct a monthly breast self-examination and a thermographic breast scan as part of your annual wellness checkup.
This is Dr. Tom Roselle. After 35 years of practice and almost 750,000 patient visits, the Roselle Center for Healing knows what works and knows how you can take control of your health and wellness. My team of doctors practice 21st century integrative medicine. Whether you suffer from chronic pain and fatigue, allergies, or headaches, we can help. Take charge of your health before it's too late. Make an appointment today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit online at rosellecare.com. This is Dr. Tom Roselle, author of Ageless Health. Health is a do-it-yourself program. My book, now also available in audio version, is a step-by-step program of how to take control of your health and wellness without drugs or needless surgery. You have the capacity to change your health and level of well-being. Take control of your health today and order Health is a do-it-yourself program.
For more information and to order, please visit agelesshealthbook.com. That's agelesshealthbook.com.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live continues now on 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle live in studio, 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. We're talking about stress in the holiday season, but more importantly, not only what happens to you and how it breaks down, but how to fix it and things that you can do to make yourself healthier. What a concept. But in studio to help me do that, one of my dearest and best, and not only in my profession but in my life, Dr. Evan Mladenoff from Kansas City. Dr. Evan, you're still there?
I'm still here.
All right, buddy. Let's take this thing apart and see if we can help people mitigate what they're doing to themselves.
Okay, so first thing is you stuck out your tongue during the break, hopefully, and had a look to see if the tip of it was red. The next thing is we need some short-range and long-range indicators. So tip of your tongue is a mid-range indicator. So if you have a blood pressure cuff, take your blood pressure, lay down for 2 minutes, take your blood pressure, then stand up and take your blood pressure. As soon as your feet hit the ground, take your blood pressure. That first number, systolic blood pressure, should go up 8 to 10 points. If it doesn't, then your stress system is off a little bit. Okay. The other thing is on our website, we've got some pictures that if you look at the picture should not move. So we call this our 10-second stress test. And we'll give you the web address later, but you can just go look at these pictures. If these pictures are moving, your stress system is not capable of handling that little extra sensory input. And then the third thing in terms of an evaluation is this is where you need to get a practitioner to give you a little bit of help. And this is where, Dr. Roselle's book, I heard it during the break. You need to get a copy of that book. And the Roselle Clinic is only one of 30 clinics in the entire United States that utilize our protocol. So you've got one of the best resources in the D.C. area to help you with your stress system. So this test is called a heart rate variability test. And simply what it does, it takes 3 to 5 minutes, and it tells us the amount of interval in between the heart rate. Bottom line is it's a predictor of cardiac death and stress. So it's like Star Trek. You get to find out the problems before you got the problem, right? Early detection means you got it and it's too late. So that's how we figure out real briefly that people can start getting a handle on. So now here's one of the easiest things to do. This is a simple exercise. If you're feeling down, you're feeling blue, things just don't feel right, one of the things you can do is, and I'll have everybody try this. So, Dr. Tom, I know you know how to do this, but just follow along with me. Place your right hand on your chest over your heart.
Why do I always feel like I'm in school when I see you or hear from you or, I get lectured by you? It's like it never stops. It's like a fire hose with too much water coming out of it.
Well, yeah, I do drink from the water hose, as they say. By the way, did you hear yesterday? This is one of the most amazing things. China is the third country in the world that put a satellite on the moon that's exploring the moon as of last night.
They're behind the curve.
No, they're the ones on the moon. America is not. I think America is behind now.
Yeah, I know that. But you and I shared that, a year ago? We were in China for, 2 weeks?
I know. It was unbelievable. Okay, so back to school. Okay, so if you take your right hand, put it over your heart. So there's lots of things there. There's multiple dimensions there. There's your physical heart. There's your emotional heart. There's your heart chakra. There's your heart alarm point. So all I want you to do is you're going to say this statement 3 times to yourself. Out loud would be better. And you're going to say, my organs work perfectly. I have endless energy. I deeply love and accept myself. So if you just did that 3 times, say that statement 3 times, and then say it 3 times a day, okay, is that going to get rid of your depression? Well, it depends on the severity of the depression, depends on the severity of stress hormones you got in your life, but it will start you, so it's like a snowball going downhill. It's just a little weak golf ball size, and you need to start it rolling down the hill. You will not believe how much comfort that will give to you. You must speak to yourself like you're going to be better.
That's where it comes into that the body doesn't know the difference between something physiologically or structurally that happens to it or something that you think about. The end product is absolutely the same, and that's why this is so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Now just think, Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, nobody had ever been there. How did they know what to do when they got there? Well, they had practiced it 10,000 times in their imagination, in a simulator, in all this other technological stuff. But the bottom line was the brain and the body couldn't tell the difference between them playing on Earth and them actually stepping on the moon. They had done it 10,000 times already. This is exactly the same thing.
888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. That's how you reach us right now and talk to Dr. Mladenoff. Later on in the program, we'll give you his website so you can talk to him directly out of Kansas City, one of the better places in this world to live and to prosper. And Dr. Mladenoff is an author. He's a lecturer internationally. He's ex-doc for the Kansas City Chiefs, has one of the most amazing practices. We parallel the type of work that we do. We both are members of the International College of Applied Kinesiology, and this is my go-to resource when I get brain dead and I can't figure out what to do. That's the phone call that I make. We're talking about stress patterns in the holiday season and things that you can do to make a difference, and not only that, but understand why these things happen, from memory loss to inability to concentrate, poor judgment. You get anxious, your thoughts just go crazy, you can't sleep at nighttime. Matter of fact, Dr. Mladenoff came up with a great product called I Stressed. That's the company, right? I Stressed Out, and which we use in the office, and it's a great combination of things that really will allow things to calm down in the body. But whether you're suffering from aches and pains, or you have problems with your intestinal system, or you're sick all the time, you can't heal, your eyes are dry this time of the season. If your eyes are dry, Evan, a lot of people are running to their optometrists and so forth, and they're complaining of eyes that crack, the cornea, and so forth. And but in about 20 seconds before we have to take a break, is this related to what we're talking about?
Absolutely, but the first thing I would think of is just they're dehydrated. If your skin is dry and you're using moisturizers and you're still dry, and the skin on your heels is cracking, you could be simply dehydrated. When you go from building to building in this cold weather, they got the heat on. If they don't have it properly humidified, it can suck moisture out of you, just like when you go to altitude. The altitude sucks the moisture out of your body. So dehydration would be the first thing I would think of, but then the stress system would be the second thing I would think of. Absolutely.
We have to take a break. We're coming up to that time where we have to listen to the news and pay attention to our sponsors. We'll be right back after these important messages. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. After 35 years of practice and almost 750,000 patient visits, the Roselle Center for Healing knows what works and knows how you can take control of your health and wellness. My team of doctors practice 21st century integrative medicine. Whether you suffer from chronic pain and fatigue, allergies, or headaches, we can help. Take charge of your health before it's too late. Make an appointment today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit online at rosellecare.com. This is Dr. Tom Roselle, author of Ageless Health. Health is a do-it-yourself program. My book, now also available in audio version, is a step-by-step program of how to take control of your health and wellness without drugs or needless surgery. You have the capacity to change your health and level of well-being. Take control of your health today and order Health is a do-it-yourself program.
For more information and to order, please visit agelesshealthbook.com. That's agelesshealthbook.com.
If you're looking for the best in natural health, wellness, and green living products, shop the Roselle web store on Amazon.com. You'll find a variety of products and resources that are designed to help achieve an ultimate state of health and wellness. Shop the Roselle web store on Amazon.com today. Visit drtomroselle.com and click on Roselle web store. That's drtomroselle.com and click on Roselle web store.
Educate, engage, empower. Take control of your health with Dr. Tom Roselle and the Roselle Center for Healing. Information is power. Achieve an ultimate state of wellness with Dr. Tom Roselle's Education Lecture Series video on demand. Discover how to create an extraordinary life of optimal health and wellness. Visit drtomroselle.com/education. That's drtomroselle.com/education.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live continues now on 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle live in studio, 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. Love to talk to you. My guest today, Dr. Evan Mladenoff from Kansas City. We're talking about stress, and he is the go-to expert in this field, having written and published and lectured nationally, internationally. An amazing doctor. I'd love to call him my friend and my brother, and we try to do as much as we possibly can to serve you every day. Before we get back into the program, I'd like to extend a personal thank you to all the people that made the charity event, Christmas party, this last Friday night at the Fairview Park Marriott Hotel, an unbelievable success. We sponsored 3 shelters out of Fairfax, so we had 84 children and 120 people totally there, and New Used out of Herndon. They were amazing. They gave boas and scarves and jewelry to the women, and Anthropology provided all the packing and the wrapping and so forth. VQC out of South Hills, Virginia. Amazing people. I can't express how grateful I am to you. 32-foot Christmas train. They made a sleeping sack, a sleeping bag for every one of the children there. Soft Touch Dental, Prime City Entertainment, Fairfax Connector, our office, WHUT, Howard University Television. They were there. They brought the PBS characters for the children. The kids had the fake tattoos, and we had games for them, and we had Santa, Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus. One of our patients, he and his wife dressed up as that. Cliff Burner, many of you know him from the PBS special as the fireman that we treated many years ago. It was an amazing, amazing evening, one that I'll never forget, and hopefully we were able to touch some hearts. Dr. Mladenoff,
Okay, so let's fast forward to number 7, because what you just gave thanks for is step number 7, and that's be grateful for what you have in life as it is. We had something similar happen, not on a personal grand scale as you did, but our local police department decided that they would like to do something, so they asked for donations of money. And the purpose of the money was to take underprivileged children, and they set up a co-op relationship with, I believe it was, Target. So literally Friday night we went out, and there's like 50 police cars at Target, and we said, what's going on? And it's like we forgot about the promo that they started back around Thanksgiving. So we go there, and there's a police officer with each police officer had one child by the hand. They were going through the store, and they were letting the child pick whatever they wanted to buy for their mother.
Isn't that great?
And it was like, I just walked around listening to the officers taking care of these little kids, saying, what color does your mother like, and how tall is she? And it's like, it was a wonderful experience. So that's step number 7, to be grateful for what you have and share it with somebody else.
Evan, let's talk a little bit about the coping mechanism due to stress. a lot of people find themselves this time of the year unable to cope, period. They're not only depressed, they're anxious, they can't function, they're not able to focus and accomplish things as they normally would. It's just like it just gets blown off the chart. And, does it have to do with stress, or is it the environment, or is it the lack of sunshine? Is it all those things? It seems to come to a pinnacle, and then everything just breaks down.
The answer is yes, yes, and yes. But here is what people have to understand, and that is, just think of the alcoholic. How much abuse can an alcoholic do to his liver before he runs into serious health problems? He and his family can be in denial about this, and he will continue to exist and manage and survive fairly well until about 80% of his liver is trashed and destroyed. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, he goes downhill overnight. So the good news and the bad news is the same, and that is our body can withstand a lot of abuse and accumulate stuff, specifically the stress hormone cortisol. The problem is that when the stress goes away, the hormone does not. It just backs off a little bit. And so you're always on the verge of the cliff, walking this fine line, thinking you're okay, but then when a little gust of wind comes along, you're halfway over the cliff already.
And here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is cortisol. We call it the stress hormone. It's one that we need. We just don't need a lot of. And then we get to the place where we've been producing it. But now the cortisol has a tough time being produced. But that cortisol that doesn't go away is held in by the body. It's still there, and it's still doing its damage.
Absolutely. So when you look in the mirror in the morning, if you got belly fat, it makes you look like an apple or a pear. So an apple would be, most of the weight is like between your hips and your rib cage. If you're a pear, the weight is between your belly button and your knees. That's where that cortisol is going, is to those fat tissues, and your body is dumping it there because it can't get rid of it. You're making it faster than you can get rid of, and the good news is you'll keep making it, but then someday what will happen is you won't be able to make it, and then so now you have two problems. You have too much cortisol, and then it creates problems. Okay, so here's one of the biggest things.
But that cortisol that you got in there can't be used.
Yeah, it can't be used, but it causes destruction. And one of the biggest things is you go down the path of depression, panic, anxiety, dementia, Alzheimer's, and the link between all those is the stress hormone cortisol. It's like a blowtorch on your brain.
My guest in studio, Dr. Evan Mladenoff from Kansas City. 888-630-9625. That's how you find us here. And you go to rosellecare.com if you'd like to send us a message, and we will answer. Evan, I want to hold just a second. We have some callers. I'd like to take one. Denise from Arizona. How can we help you?
Yeah, I'd like to know if a vaporizer, the difference between a vaporizer and a humidifier, like for flu, pneumonia, what's the difference?
Evan, you want to handle that?
A vaporizer you can add stuff to. So it takes liquid and it creates it into a vapor, okay? But then you can add, homeopathic remedies. You can add medications to it. Whereas a humidifier just adds water into the air.
And you can control a little bit of
the nutshell.
Yeah, you can control a little bit of the level, but that's really what it is, Denise. We normally recommend a vaporizer simply because of the fact that you can put things in it and open respiratory systems up. You can saturate skin tissue with homeopathic preparations and allow the body to heal much more effectively. Humidifier, unfortunately, has a side effect. It can accumulate all kinds of junk, mold and spores and so forth that are around the house. I don't particularly care for them unless you're changing the filters all the time. Vaporizer can be cleaned after every use, much more effective, much more profound, and much more versatile. Hopefully.
Okay, for pneumonia also then, huh?
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. I mean, there's lots of things that, down in Arizona, if you like a referral, we've got some good people down there. Just get a hold of me at rosellecare.com and I'll hook you up. Evan.
Yes.
We're back.
Most kids who have asthma that wake up in the middle of the night have adrenal fatigue, just as a side note.
Well, and most of that is hypoglycemic pattern due to the inability of the adrenal system to stimulate the pancreas, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And, so one of the things I tell my patients is that if you go to bed and you fall asleep and then you wake up within about an hour and a half, 2 hours, that often it's nothing more than a hypoglycemic pattern. Eat a little bit of protein about an hour before you go to bed. couple ounces. That's all you need.
Yep, absolutely.
And it allows you to get through that night a whole lot better. Let's talk about what happens. Everybody's afraid this time of year, particularly up here in the northern areas, of the flus, of getting the respiratory infection. We got a bug right now that we're having to treat in office, and it starts out viral, and just in no time at all, it goes bacterial, or a combination of the two things. Affects the intestinal tract as well. Why are we seeing so much of that? I mean, we know that 80% of the immune system is the intestinal system, and you and I know that there's this thing called Ig antibody. So what can people do to strengthen their system and prevent some of this? Because we're, after the holiday season, we're rush. Our adrenal system's kicking in. Norepinephrine are going crazy right now. We used to call it adrenaline. But then the down period comes right after January 1, and that's when everybody gets sick. How can we prevent that? How can we fix it now?
Well, let's go backwards for a second, and that is, how do you get an infection? And there's only one way to get an infection. You must have three things present all at the same time. Number one, you have to have a compromised immune system. Your immune system has to be broken down. Well, if you're under stress long enough, your body calls for resources to keep the fight going, so then it unplugs your immune system and steals stuff from your immune system so that it can keep fighting the fight of the stress, and so now your immune system is compromised. Number two, you have to have a suitable environment. Mosquitoes don't grow in the ocean, they grow in a swamp. So if your body is toxic, if you're eating the wrong foods, and bacteria and viruses grow on sugar, they also grow in a lack of oxygen. So if you don't have enough oxygen in your body from a lack of exercise, if you had too much sugar from, holiday stuff, okay, so you got to have a suitable environment. And then the third thing is you must be exposed to the organism. You have to have all three. So if you're just exposed to the organism and your diet's really good, you're not toxic, and you're not under a lot of stress because you're modulating your stress hormone, you're not going to get the infection.
No, you won't get sick.
You won't get sick. So first of all, that's the fallacy that people have to understand. You can't get an infection by catching it. I don't wear a catcher's mitt. You and I have sick people coming into our office every day, and we never get sick, and they can't figure it out. Well, it's because you need all three of those things present in order to get and come down with the illness.
Well, Dr. Pasteur, who was supposedly the father of the bacteria theory that if you got a bug, you're going to get sick and take this antibiotic for that, on his deathbed said it's not the bug, it's the terrain, it's the body, it's susceptibility, exactly what we're talking about.
Correct. So how can they fix this? Well, this is not overnight. Okay, this is a journey, so you got to clean up your diet, get rid of the white stuff, white bread, white milk, white flour, white pasta, get rid of the sugar, okay, and especially this time of year. It's like, okay, sugar binging, alcohol, treats, it's like, okay, just pick your spots. You don't have to be a hermit, but it's like, be reasonable. Do not go overboard. You wouldn't eat, 10 cookies any other time of the year, so just eat one.
Over the holidays at my house, we have an abundance of everything. But when they walk in, people ask me, say, what do you eat for Christmas? What do you eat for the holidays? And we eat all kinds of things, but they're all good for you things. And we have, for example, Christmas Eve, there's going to be lamb, and there's going to be fish, and there's going to be vegetables, and there's going to be non-gluten pastas, because I'm Sicilian and it's got to be on the table. So one time a year I kind of mess it up. But even the desserts that we make are supportive. They're made with natural things, and we spread them out, and we give them to our guests when they're there, not in preponderance and not in the beginning of the meal. They're kind of hidden away until after the fact. Let's go to the phones. John, how can we help you, sir? Thank you for calling.
Hello.
Hi, John.
Hello.
Go ahead.
I have a question about stress and sleep.
Okay.
During my childhood, I would have I grew up in a very unhealthy family relationship. There'd be lots of fighting, lots of violence. And I would notice I was very stressed out all the time. And during the night, I would go to sleep. I would experience night paralysis, panic attacks, hallucinations. I would feel voices, feel like people are touching me, wake up with weird cuts on me, like aliens are abducting me and doing stuff to me, and people, they come and hurt me.
John, how old are you? John, how old are you, John?
Huh?
How old are you now?
I'm 20.
Okay. John, let Dr. Mladenoff and I talk about this a little bit. Evan, you heard this guy, since, he had a tough childhood. Obviously, that emotional stress pattern was up over the top. We got about a minute and a half before we have to take a break. How do you see that relative to the topic we're talking about?
Well, this is really important because, the holidays bring up suppressed emotions from childhood or from death of a loved one that chronically happen around this time of the year. And so, here's where a specific technique that one of our good friends, Scott Walker, developed called the neuro-emotional technique that helps deal with how these emotions become manifested as physical entities in our body, whether they're aches or pains or nightmares through the night. And they're intimately involved with the stress system, because if your stress system is compromised, it's been battling the day-to-day, hand-to-hand trauma, then when these emotions come up, there's nothing to deal with them, and so the emotions just blast through, very easily, and then you relive all those old memories. They come like right to the front of the book, so to speak, when they've been buried for long periods of time, and they need to be addressed. Instead of sticking your head in the ground like an ostrich or taking drugs to suppress them, because they'll just keep festering and they'll literally eat away at parts of your body.
Yeah, the medication doesn't work, and you have to unlock them. The body has this amazing talent of putting things in its back pocket, so to speak, and not bring it up to the surface. And we chew on it. We get bit by it again, so to speak, and over a period of years, it just becomes a chronic rampage of degenerative, all kinds of things. Evan, we got to come up for a break, and when we come back, we've got a short segment, so we're going to wrap this up. Don't go away. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live.
WMAL-FM Woodbridge, Washington. WMAL Washington, WRQX HD2, Washington.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You've been listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. We've been in studio, always here at 12 o'clock on Sunday for your learning, for your pass-through of information from us to you, to your family, to your friends, and we reach out and we get the best of the best to help serve you. Who today? Dr. Evan Mladenoff from Kansas City. Dr. Mladenoff, as we said earlier, is the go-to expert on stress and stress adaptation. He's written, he's published, he's lectured internationally, an amazing human being. A pleasure and honor to call him my friend. Dr. Evan, we got a few minutes. Let's wrap this thing up. So for our listeners, let's talk about, in a nutshell, if they take steps X, Y, Z, and so forth, what can they expect in January?
Well, it's a transformation and a process. So not any one thing you do today is going to dramatically change your life tomorrow. You didn't get this way overnight unless there was a one-time, like a car accident, a one-time super stress event. So you have to start making little changes in your life, and the little changes will make big changes. So we didn't get to all my 7 steps. So if they just go to our website, istressedout.com, and click on the little icon that says 7 tips to manage holiday stress.
So
they're all listed there for them.
See, in case you can't distinguish the Canadian and the Kansas Cityan, he said istressedout.com.
Correct.
Sorry, Evan, that Toronto dialect is still there.
Well, yes, I'm working on my Chinese and my Japanese, but apparently not too well. But here's, especially this time of year, here's the biggest thing. You need to create a budget to control financial stress of the holidays. So giving gifts of service, like you did the other night, giving gifts of gratitude. If you just handwrite 5 people that you're grateful that they're in your life, that is one of the most unbelievable gifts that you can give someone. It always doesn't have to be down to money. So the stress of giving gifts, take it out of the physical realm and take it into the emotional and intellectual realm. That will make you feel so much better. That will make the receiver feel so much better. It's unbelievable. The next thing is not just for the holiday season, but slow down. Stop and smell a pizza, as they say. Life passes you by very quickly, and there's nothing you can do to stop death. So it's like, okay, how fast do you want to die? And the answer is as slow as possible. So you want to experience as much of life around you as you can. It's not going to go any slower unless you make it go slower. So you're putting that into perspective. And again, this time of year especially, we touched upon this, put food in its proper perspective. It's abnormal to have sugar cravings, salt cravings, alcohol cravings, any of those cravings. It's your body telling you that something wrong, and it's trying to manage it arguably the wrong way, but it's trying to fix something by give you those cravings because it's the easiest way to fix it, but it usually creates other problems. So,
Evan, my brother, we're coming up to the end of the program. As always, it's phenomenal. It's great. You are an amazing source of information. Merry Christmas, my friend. I will see you soon. We'll talk
you and your family.
Thank you, buddy. You've been listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live and Dr. Evan Mladenoff out of Kansas City. We'll be here next week with some more information for you to utilize. See you then. Bye.
Are you dental phobic? Do you neglect your dental health because of fear and anxiety? A beautiful smile begins with exceptional dental care, and you can trust in the expertise of Soft Touch Dental Care and Dr. Michael Chung. Soft Touch Dental Care is unlike any dentist office you'll ever experience. Their warm and welcoming environment is designed to soothe fears and anxiety the moment you arrive, and they're especially pleased to pamper their honored guest patients. Dr. Michael Chung is a professional and leading expert in all areas of comprehensive dentistry, including cosmetic, sedation, neuromuscular, TMJ, and implant dentistry. Offering state-of-the-art technology, Dr. Chung can give you the smile of your dreams. Arrange for a complimentary consultation today with Dr. Michael Chung and experience the expertise that makes Dr. Michael Chung so unique. Call 703-319-6990. That's 703-319-6990. Or visit bestinsmile.com. That's bestinsmile.com.